Hey, this is Lisa Carter, and I'm going to be doing a screencast of how to access our problem-based learning project, and then within that, our teacher toolbox. If you are on the Zimbaloo site, you can go to this button right here, and this is our problem-based learning, and you select that, and when you select it, you will be taken to this page. Each one of us has an account, and you would simply put in your district email, and everyone's password to begin with is Toolbox. And once you log in, then you can change your password if you want, or you can maintain that password. Once you log in, then you will see that we've got our weekly warm-up that is sent to us, and you all should be receiving these as emails as part of our contract with the Problem-Based Learning Project. You'll see that below where it says Kershaw County, these have been specifically created for us. Here's the problem-based learning integrated units. Then we have our weekly warm-ups. You have informational text, and then you have the teacher toolbox resource. Today what I'm going to talk about is the problem-based learning integrated units. So what you would do is you would select this, and depending on what grade, you would find your grade. And let's go to a 7th grade, and let's do healthy eating. And what you find is an integrated unit that can be done with ELA, math, science, and social studies. You have a problem that's stated here, and then you are given the depth of knowledge that is addressed. These are standalone units as well, so if you did not want to work together as 4 content areas, a science teacher could do this, a social studies teacher could do this, a math teacher could do this, and an ELA teacher could do this, all separate from each other, or you could work together. Let's look at it as far as a science teacher goes. If a 7th grade science teacher chooses to do this because one of their lessons, one of the standards has to do with healthy food or your body, you would select click to begin, and it takes a little while. But what we're going to see is, again, the problem stated, it's the same problem, but then within the science there is another problem or question posed. Everything you need is listed here under teacher resources. You have your teacher instructions, and you can, once this comes up, all teacher instructions look just like this document. It's just specific to what unit you are teaching. So here's the problem scenario, health or choices. Here's the main problem, and then here are some questions. And this is from the science perspective, because the science teacher has chosen to do this. It is very detailed, and you can begin with some stimulus items, and when we go back to the other page, we'll see those. You have a class discussion, you have product options, extended response, and there are rubrics attached into the program when we go back that you can use to score your students' work. You can print this off and put it into your lesson plans, and you can copy and paste it, or you can just leave it as a digital document and refer to it. We go back to the problem-based project, and we have some leading questions for the classroom discussion, and they're listed here. And again, you can print these off, and your students, you can divide these up and divide your students up into groups, but you've got these questions that they can discuss in groups or as an entire class. It tells you exactly the estimated time for your task. So as you're preparing to do this, it gives you, here's the estimated time is 110 minutes if you use one stimulus. And then there's some highlights here. It tells you specifically it's 30 minutes, 30 minutes. The student response is 40 minutes. And if you do the project response, it's not included in that time estimate. But again, it's a resource for you. We go back to the problem-based, and we've got student questions. These can be printed off and used as an assessment, or you can actually launch an online test and assign it to your class. And here are the questions, and they would just answer them, and then there is a rubric attached so that you can score them based on what they've discussed and the whole lesson. Excuse me. The stimulus that you would use at the beginning are actually right here. These are student resources, and you would bring these up. So here's Food of the Future, and there's an article that they would read. They would read this, and you can have this flashed up on your smartboard, or you can print this off, and each student or each group of students can have it as a reference point. There are also note-taking sheets, so when they're reading their article or if they're watching a video, then they can take the key points and write them down here, keep notes, and that they'll have those for when you get ready to discuss the actual topic and address it. There are a multitude of options that you can do. You can do all, you can do some of it, but the idea is to do integration, because the Common Core and how they are, the focus is more on the collaborating and the interacting with others, and then getting things across the curriculum. So while this may be an ELA focus, there is science component to it, or it's science and there is an ELA component to it. But this kind of thing is helping students to collaborate and work in teams or groups or partners, and to come up with an end result. That's problem-based learning. When you want to go back to the original page, the home page, you would just hit what's the problem. That was a very, very quick overview. I encourage each one of you, if you decide to implement one of these units as an individual teacher, as a team, to make sure that you are familiar with each one of the resources that is available, so that you can get the best out of the lesson for your students. And as you saw, it said 110 minutes, which is probably 2 class periods. You could actually stretch it for a couple of days if you wanted to, depending on how in-depth you wanted your students to work, and if you wanted to do a project-based activity. So that's problem-based learning, integrated units. And then again on here, we're going to look at, these are the weekly warm-ups, which are based on the problem-based learning. And they give you, here's your question, December 9th, Amazon announces that it is looking into using fly drones to deliver packages to your front door. So you would, let's find out what's going on. The problem, here's the problem, and then here's the question. And again, here are the teacher instructions, leading questions, there's a stimulus, and this is actually a video. Here's a web post, and there's an article, and there's some options to do lower elementary, as you can see here. I know that there's one school, Stover, is using these on a weekly basis to just get their students at a higher level and to get more rigorous and to develop those collaborating and interacting skills. Again, we go back to what's the problem, and that takes us back to the home page. Go back to the home page, and I want to show you one more thing, informational text. This is a great resource. This is something you can use with a substitute or just as a daily prep. They are cold reads, and these are informational text, and these are non-traditional, and then you have traditional, and you can get them at different levels. So if you are thinking that your students are at a moderate level, you would go and see, all right, I'd like to use an infograph, and let's see, we're talking about massive health portion distribution. Let's look at that and see what it looks like. Okay, here are the questions. You have to click on the image, and there's the image. You can enlarge this, you can print it off, you can post this on your smart board or Promethean board, or you can print it off as a document for your students to actually have. But it talks about obesity and food portions, and this is something that your students they would read it, they would look over it, and they would have to interpret the information and the pictures, the illustrations, and what they reference, and then they would go back to the questions and answer the questions. Again, you can print these questions off, or you can give them as an online assessment, and you have your answers here. There are a multitude of options for informational text. This is a great resource for cold reads, for informational text, and will support all of the Common Core standards as it's related to what your students are going to be expected to do on Smarter Balance and what they should be able to do as just college and career ready students. So we're going to go back, and we're back to the home page. The next video that I'm going to be creating and you'll be watching is the Teacher Toolbox resource. So stay tuned for that video and more information about your formative assessment questions that the teachers created, that all of you created, and the data bank with which you will be able to access through this particular program.